about this. So yeah, let's move to the next section. Kelly, the floor is yours.
Good morning. I'm Kelly McVeigh. As Monica mentioned earlier, I'm part of the Global Engagement Committee located in the United States. The next two presentations we're going to have are going to be focused on collaborative teaching. So I'll introduce the first one. We'll go through that, introduce the second one, and then after they've both spoken, we will go back and have a collaborative Q&A between both groups. So our first speakers are going to talk about co-designing a new course, the case of Academia B and Tech de Monterrey. So we have Ramses Gomez, who's the director of Academia B in Mexico City. His work centers on the idea of adopting entrepreneurship and social innovation as a core value in higher education in Latin America. We also are going to have Joshua Hammerschlag. He's the director of social entrepreneurship at Tecnológico de Monterrey for Mexico City region. He's been a teacher for the last 19 semesters, and he teaches subjects related to social entrepreneurship, finance, and innovation. So we are going to pass it over to Ramses and Joshua.
Thank you, Kelly. It's a great pleasure to be here. I'm really grateful for the opportunity to share with you, Ramses.
Likewise, I share the sentiment. Thank you very much for the invitation. It's a really delightful opportunity to learn from everyone, and we're happy to share some of our lessons learned in our partnership with Sistema B and Tec de Monterrey. Just to provide a little bit of context, Sistema B is a global partner of B-Lab, is the way we call it in Latin America, but it's exactly a global partner, as you might have heard of B-Lab in Australia, B-Lab in Europe, and so on. So thank you very much.
So we would like to begin this sharing by I would love to share with you very briefly a little bit about what this course is about. So a few years ago, 3 years ago, we launched our new educational model, which we call Tech 21. And this educational model has a few elements that we foster, which is challenge-based learning. We have a strong focus on the development of competencies versus the knowledge, the facilitation of knowledge. And we try to build flexible and customized courses, which means that we have, full semester courses, but now we also have intensive courses like this one, which is 5 weeks, 60 hours in 5 weeks course that is really intensive. So it's a full course where it's only in 5 weeks. And we also try to, because we want to build a change-based learning, we work really closely with vinculating our subjects to the real life, as in academia we usually say, which is the industry or external organizations. So based on that, we built this course and this experience, and as I mentioned, we intervened a 5-week intensive course. The course takes the teachers take 12 hours a week. It's a course in social entrepreneurship, and this course, part of the design is that every year it's a once a year's course, and every year we have a different vertical or a different subject related to social entrepreneurship. So it's not just developing social entrepreneurship initiatives, but this year was related to sustainable agriculture. So it was building solutions for the challenge for students was building a solution or an initiative that tackles any problem related to sustainable agriculture. And we decided to vinculate it with Academia B and Sistema B. And part of the design is that we work together to build different elements that we will enable students to understand how sustainable agriculture works and how companies implement this into their operation. So with this, I pass the word to Ramses so he can explain better in terms of what we actually built.
Thank you, Joshua. Thanks so much. Again, for context, quickly want to share what Academia B is. It's very similar, yet it's not exactly the same as B Academics as we know it. Yet Academia B, what hopes to do is building a bridge between higher education and the B Corps in Latin America. And we do so by partnering with the private sector and building bridges in order to create new content. Of course, creating research around what's happening, what we're seeing, and how can we bring about the evidence of the impact of B Corps, and not only to tell them in the way we usually say, because they happen to be so inspirational, the business models we're talking about, but how can we go beyond inspiration as we all want to do, create evidence that hopefully will impact public policy beyond good storytelling and a good narrative. So we're doing that. We're also working along with universities to install capacities and learning objectives and rethink the way we're putting together our curriculum as to what are the skills that we of course need to advance a new way of doing business. And in that process, we decided to partner with Tec de Monterrey, actually as per their invitation, which we're very grateful for. And we decided that if we wanted to install new capacities within students, we had to define, of course, which were those. And more specifically, we decided that we wanted to select a business case in Latin America that could help us expose the students not only to a good business model that happens to be inspirational, but actually that will equip them in many ways through understanding and truly embedding into their heads, of course, but also into their hearts, and also putting into their hands actual content that could provide knowledge and create a meaningful experience that will hopefully like mark them in many ways. So it was sustainable agriculture, regenerative business practice, but also biodiversity. And having a wonderful pool of B Corps in Latin America, we are at a time where we already have 700 B Corps in the region, spread around up to 15 countries. So we scanned B Corps through the lens of sustainable agriculture, and we realized that we had a beautiful example that happened to be Pacari. Pacari, they produce chocolate through dynamics practices in agriculture. So we selected them, we partnered with them, and we actually approached them in a way that was beyond just telling their story within classrooms in the region, along with Tec de Monterrey. So in the few slides we have, and actually on how it happened, and I'm happy to continue to share it along with Joshua.
Yeah, so part of what we did is we designed the course in terms of how and which were the elements that we wanted to introduce and how we want to embed this experience into the course. So part of what we did is Ramses and the Academia B team developed a course, a case, a business case explaining Pacari. But we also added specific designing elements during their experience, both for teachers and for students, in terms of how they lived the overall experience to better understand social entrepreneurship, but also to better understand sustainable agriculture. So one of the elements was a case. Another element was the design of the implementation, because I know what you might be thinking, a case is not innovative. So what we did is trying to implement from the perspective of the entrepreneur, trying to bring the perspective of the entrepreneur, which was Santiago from Pacari, into the development of the whole course, and bringing that perspective to the teachers. maybe we can jump into the elements of innovation, and we can talk a little bit about this.
Absolutely. And Joshua, if you could go back for a second to our previous slide. Something that I wanted to highlight is what you mentioned around designing an experience that was not initially not intended for students, actually. Of course, it prevails. Our ambition is to have meaningful content for students, but at all times, what we were thinking and what we were putting our hearts into was how do we create a wonderful experience for faculty first, and then if they get excited, if we truly get to make them connect with the concept of B Corps, then they can actually help students connect with it as well. So something that I think made a huge difference is that as opposed to just handing in the case once it was written for faculty to use it as a pedagogical tool, we actually had a private session with them prior to initiating the course, and we have a tasting of chocolate. So we actually used all Tec de Monterrey infrastructure and logistics process to make sure that every single professor had in their house bars of chocolate that were specifically curated and selected, not only based on their taste, but actually on the agricultural practices behind every single ingredient that happens to be in that chocolate bar. So we had a 2-hour-long session with faculty and also the founder of the chocolate company for them to go through the sensorial experience, but actually get to learn about what's happening behind with people and the planet as we produce those ingredients. And basically what we aimed to do and hopefully we achieved was that the secret to a better taste relies on a better agriculture. So I think that by having created a very experiential process for faculty actually not only to read about the company or watch a video with the company, but actually get to feel and go through it, made a huge difference in the way that they approach the students having gone through the experience themselves. As for the next slide, sorry. I think one of the innovative elements that we think we learned from this experience is integrating a B Corp as an educational element, not only as a guest speaker. So we had many sessions with the founders and the senior leaders within the organization, just to truly understand what makes things work beyond what's evident. And actually, it was the fact that we had this chocolate tasting opportunity with them came as an invitation from the actual company, as they understand that is the most powerful way for people to get connected with their purpose. Also, designing the course both for teacher and students, as we're saying. And I think that also providing opportunities for the business people, not only to actually send a video, but actually to have an opportunity for them to talk to students and actually solve in real time questions and doubts that students might have, created a very special connection and true understanding of the business model and the impact behind it.
Yeah, from our side, one of the things that we're always concerned, or at least it's always in our mind, is how to scale these opportunities. Because at the end, maybe something that I didn't mention was we are the largest private university in Mexico. We have 26 campuses and 70,000 students. So we don't want to build an experience that is only for one group. And I'm sure you can relate to that. So one of the things that we did is we selected a group of national designers. So we were 7 teachers that were co-designing this experience together with, the academical part and trying. I was the liaison between tech and the amazing job that Academia B and Ramses did to integrate these within the whole structure of the course, and then trying to understand how to scale that. So we create the experience in terms of we recorded sessions, we developed slides of all the main courses for the teachers that we're gonna implement. We did this experience for all the teachers in 8 different cities. So what we did is we actually designed for everyone to have the same level of experience, and that every teacher had the opportunity to create them the same level of experience for their students. So that was one of the challenges, but also I think one of the successes, because it was one of the top 5 better evaluated courses throughout the university that semester. Another thing that was really valuable for us was the connection of all the elements. So I think that one of the things that we saw is that, for example, during the training for the teachers, that we had a session to transfer all these to the teachers before we started. And one of the things is Ramses did an amazing job curating content in terms of, podcasts, videos, movies, documentaries, and different kinds of elements to bring context, not only about Pacari, but also about sustainable agriculture and elements that could engage students. The business case had specific elements that talk not only about the company, but about the entrepreneur and why he was doing this. And I think at the end, the most amazing result that we saw was the whole experience allowed that at the end, the students' reflections were not about how to build a company, but it was about their purpose and their identity. They were talking about things like, I realized that I want to do this, something like this. I realized that, you can build things like that. I knew I wanted to build something that had an impact, but I didn't have, idea of how you can actually do that. And I realized about that. So different elements that were built during the experience brought the opportunity to have those deeper talks within the classroom that at the end, I think, appeal to, how to change or how to teach a new economy. So I think we are on time, and I'm also within the things that we were wanting to say. So thank you for the space.
Great. Thank you so much, Joshua and Ramses, for that information. Like I said, we are going to move into the second presentation about collaborative teaching experiences, and then we will do a Q&A afterwards. So Joshua, you're still sharing your screen. If you can. Perfect. Thank you so much. So I will introduce our next speaker. Monica Casabio is an associate professor at ASADE, which I apologize if I'm mispronouncing that, Monica. She was leading the innovative project prototyping the new bachelor's. And currently she is the academic director of the new Bachelor in Transformational Business and Social Impact. So Monica is going to walk us through her process and her case at this point.
Okay, so thank you, everyone. I hope that you can listen to me now. If I can have any, oh yes, because we have some technical problems. So thank you for inviting me to the B Academics, and I'm so glad to share with you all this process, because I must tell you that this started 2 years ago when the general director just called me to say, Monica, we need to redesign the bachelor's and we need to start from scratch. So go for it. It's true that I was the former academic director of the BBA, Bachelor in Business and Administration. So I had a lot of insights from our students, and also had a lot of information of what business school like ASADE needed. So it was for me a challenging opportunity. And I mentioned that because in fact, last September, we welcomed the first cohort, 43 students with sharing 27 nationalities and all around the world. So what I'm going to share with you now, it's first like the whole result, but then I would just go quite quickly. But so it's like 10 months in 3 minutes. And then I will go to the backstage where I can share with you all this collaboration and the multi-actor collaboration success. And finally, some takeaways. So of course, that could be a Q&A after that, but please just feel free to contact me if someone wants to know, or maybe you are in the process of creating something new in your universities. I will be more than happy to share everything that you need from us. So based on this introduction, just to say that it's true that we are a leading business school here in Spain, in Barcelona. And I just mentioned that 2 years ago as well, we changed our claim from inspiring futures to do good to better. This is important because it's true that I am also an associate professor in the marketing department. So you can see that everything regarding the brand identity and our purpose and our mission it's part of my DNA. But when we started at that time, and I was not alone, I mean, I think it's all the institution, we were saying that the context changed completely. You all know that. But from the academic point of view, we were still teaching more or less in the same way. So our bachelor started in 1952. So the main cash cow of our university has approximately 60 years. And since then, we didn't really innovate in terms of pedagogical innovation. So we started analyzing the context and saying it's clear that with the refugees, inequalities, megacities, this VUCA world, artificial intelligence, sustainability, limited resources, all of that, it's more than evident. There are a lot of gaps over there, and that we have this mission and a purpose to form and train the leaders of this new context. And of course, we need to give them knowledge, soft skills, and experiences that would help them to really match and to feel and transform this context and this future. Our main goal, and because again, this new project hold it directly from the general director. So I was completely apart from the core business and the dean and it was a completely different project. So it was not hard at the beginning to say what we exactly need, because it was clear as well that we have a reputation in terms of business and law in Spain and now internationally. But it's true that 6 years ago, we already established the standards in the higher education of that context, in a Spanish context after the war in 1960. But now with this new context, we need to reinvent everything. So our purpose in this bachelor is transforming the world for the better with this triple value by creating a new standards in higher education. And this purpose was something that constantly was in my mind, you can imagine, with post-its in everything, in all the walls, in all the classes, no? So, and another challenge that was important for us was, how can we create something without cannibalizing what we are offering? So we realized that there was a new generation, not just millennial, but the new generation of young girls and young boys, really highly competent, but very impact-driven decision makers. So we knew as well, but we wanted to create something, an undergraduate, 3-year undergraduate program addressed to them, to these internationally global, highly competent, impact-driven decision makers. And we need to start to changing admission recruitment at the beginning. So we asked for help to different institutions and organizations in order to be able to understand better this new agent of change. So with a clear idea of who were our students in this case, we created a new methodology plan and we said, okay, they need in terms of knowledge, they need humanities, technology, and management, because we know that they have to be different from the robots, from the artificial intelligence. So they need to know liberal arts, Socratic dialogue, and they need to know how to think, critical thinking. Also, they need to know how to program, Python, and using the Fab Lab. So everything regarding technology and of course management in order to live with all these problems. And we also knew that if you want to become an agent of change, of course, they will not be able to do it alone. So in this case, and I will come back to the backstage, and you will see here when the B movement had a really key role in all this process. But we realized that if we wanted to create something completely new and address to these particular students, it's impossible to do that alone if you really believe on this purpose. So we started connections and conversations with a lot of big corporations. Also, Pablo Sanchez from Villap, Spain, we had a lot of conversation as well. I also was enrolled in Multiplicadores B. I went and spoke with B Corps in Spain and over Spain. I went to the summit in Holland. I met there also Marcelo Palazzi. We had a lot of meetings as well with them. We spoke with Ashoka, Lane, Minerva, Fab Lab. So the idea was to have a clear idea, or at least to have the first connection of all the institutions and organizations that we knew that we had the same purpose in mind. Of course, different value propositions or different market, but with the same purpose. And thanks on that, we were able to design this in a record time, because in 9 months from a white paper, it became a prototype. And again, last September, we are already working on that, and we started with the implementation. So we knew what we wanted our students to learn, this new humanities management and technology, but we also knew the skills that we want them to develop. And these skills, in order to develop all these skills, we needed our first ecosystem. So when I'm saying that, in this particular case, Ashoka or BLAB, B Corps members helped us to the designing the content of this bachelor. It was not just helping us to co-create the content. What for me was important is that we started with the seed, with this small collaboration coming to a particular degree that then amplified to the rest of ESADE departments. Based on our dialogues, I am aware that the alumni, ESADE alumni, and BLAB created an agreement in order to train our alumni students, this ESADE alumni network, in all these different philosophy of the B Corp movement. I know as well that we had some collaborations, institutional collaborations with executive education at ESADE. I know as well that the professional career department, the ones who help our students to find a job, started new conversations with B Corps. So I think that it was like the first excuse or meeting point that, as we had a lot of things in common with the B Corp movement and ESADE values, that everyone in a very natural way started to have these little conversations and also talking about other things. In fact, thanks to this, I also met Veronica. We didn't meet each other previously, and we are here nearby. So I think it was for me a perfect opportunity to be able to know better the movement and just spread the word here in the institution. And just to finish with the final, like all the creation process, again, the result is that we have this bachelor We already have a new space, completely different classes. We don't work in, we don't have courses, classical courses or classical lectures. We work in project-based courses where a lot of B Corps company also participates. We have impact talks, also B Corps companies or social entrepreneur companies are also involved. So the idea is that we are trying to create, to make this ecosystem bigger, because for us, our agent of change, our students that started this September have all the kit, knowledge kit, and also the network that they need in order to be able to transform this world for the better. So this was like the creation of this new bachelor, and now some other information regarding this co-creation process. So just to give you some numbers, of course, when we started from scratch, we also make we collaborate with the consultancy Ideas for Change here in Spain, and they help us a lot at the beginning with this ideation part, helping us to have a clear benchmark of 35 innovative programs all around the world. So we were looking to the different universities, different programs. We also had conducted more than 39 interviews with inspiring universities, students, and staff members from ESADE and out of ESADE. We conducted different workshops. If I remember properly, 3 workshops, internal workshops, but also external, workshops with external people to ESADE. In this case, BLAB Spain was always there. So I really would like to thank all the generosity that Pablo Sanchez had in terms of giving the feedback, ideas, and everything regarding this co-creation in this bachelor. And after that, we had meetings, internal processes, a lot, 1,000 of you can imagine. So when you have the idea, then it's like a lean startup. So we started to start internal processes in order to adapt this innovative idea to the reality of the site. So if someone is interested, I can give you all the details and all the bumps on the road and all the difficulties that we found. That just to summarize it, I would say how difficult is to innovate in a fast way in a slow industry like academia. That sometimes it's not so easy, but we did it, and it's thanks to all the people that participate and share and help just to do that. And just 2 minutes to finish. The learnings. I know that this is something that we said that we are going to share now, the 3 of us, with also friends from Mexico. But I would say that the learnings that I got from all these projects that I led here is the first of all that, of course, if this project, which is innovative project, holds directly from general director, that it's sponsored by them, of course, it's easier for the one that leads this. The second thing is, this is a hard work. So I think that if someone is thinking of changing something in your universities, I would recommend to, when you create your team, that you create institutional builders. So people that really believes and committed to the university. The third one is when there is no budget, because in our case, there was no budget. I mean, we do that I think even I can say that. I mean, it was 15,000 euros, 15,000 euros plus full-time, well, not full-time because I was teaching as well. So an assistant, and this was in 10th month. So you can imagine how crazy it was. But for me, the idea is when you don't have budget, you need to ask for help or just to try to collaborate with all the institutions allied with the purpose as I really believe in that purpose. And I think that the world needs this new kind of leadership. I just went to the organizations and institutions and companies that I knew that shared the same purpose. If not, it's almost impossible to change that. The other thing that I learned is sharing, sharing, sharing. So again, if I really want to form the agents of change, the new leaders who are going to transform this world for the better, I'm sharing everything, all my learnings, everything that we learn, everything that we are doing here, and we share it internally and externally. So all the faculty that are not teaching in our course, in our program, if they want to know something, I just give my material to them. If some company just asks us to explain the process, we share it. Now we just send a research paper just with our case, because we want to explain everything to the academia. Just to give an example of this innovative program with this impact idea and purpose to the whole world. And the other thing is, I think it's very important in this case to find right people in the right place. So at the beginning, with the ideation, you need a specific group of people. When you are doing the prototype, you need another type of people. And the team increases at the same time that the bachelor is also increases. So now that we already execute this is when we also need other people, a lot of experience, institutional builders, and for me, this is part of the success. Sharing, trust with the people, delegate, and never do it alone. I think I'm running out of time. Thank you very much for your time and for your interest. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you have. Thank you.
So thank you so much, Monica. So it was all great information from Monica, from Joshua, and from Ramses. So we only have a couple minutes, but does anybody have questions that they want to ask? We could probably take one or two quick questions. There is one in the chat, so I'll just throw it out to Monica, Joshua, and Ramses if you guys want to chime in. So the question was, did you incorporate some market feasibility studies? That's one of the big barriers that some institutions are having.
In our case, what we had to do, because I didn't mention that in 2 years, this bachelor is officialized. So we also had the accreditation of the Ministerio de Educación. I've been told that this was like a miracle, but it's not a miracle. It's because everything that we decide had a reason to believe, and we share that. So just to answer your question, Maria, as constantly, I presented the prototype, the concept, to the Board of Trustees twice. The first one, I wanted to know their feedback, because if I realized that they were against, of course, maybe I had to change. So I had the acceptance of the Board of Trustees at the beginning in March, and I had to finish in July. But apart from that, I had to pass the internal processes that I'm sure that you, Maria, also has, about the Comité de Curriculum Committee, Portfolio Committee. So all the internal processes that we have in order to have their acceptance. If not, it would be a big challenge as well. No? And one time, also the executive committee at the study, that they met once a month. So this was the way that I have of sharing things. At one time, I realized that these type of meetings were more informative, but I really wanted to have their feedback in order to improve. And it was difficult. So at that point, as I was really aware about the possible reaction of the market, because we were building something, but we didn't have the acceptance of the parents or the families or the students. So I conducted a small market research. It was like a concept test. So when I had the idea of our prototype, I conducted a market research. As you can imagine, we didn't have money. So although the target was international, so our students are international, I decided to conduct the research in Spain, because we know that in Spain, students are more traditional. We knew that we were going to start with a private bachelor, I mean, not officialized bachelor. So I wanted to know if Spain were ready to start something, to start studying something so innovative without having the real official degree. When I had this number, 75% were accepted this project, more in Madrid and País Vasco than not in Barcelona, and we are settled in Barcelona, we decided to go for it. And in parallel, I started with the memoria for the Ministerio. So 2 months ago, although our first cohort started in September, and we were telling them all the time, this is not official, this is not official. So you cannot study an MBA or a PhD if you are enrolled here. Even though that, we got 120 applications. Yeah, this is why I want to share that. 180 applications. The admission process is completely different from the BBA. So we asked for grades. We had a particular personal interview when we are identifying growth mindset, sensitivity to the world and the planet, intellectual curiosity, and a spirit of cooperation. So if you don't have a high grade on that, you are not invited to our program. And the third one, we asked them for a small challenge, a video, just to know them. Based on that, our goal was 40 students, and we couldn't say no to 2. So it's 42 students. Also, the new big change in our organizations that I'm very proud of is that we had 10 scholarships that for us, it's very difficult, but now, so it's the program with more scholarships, people from all over the world, Nepal, Pakistan, Bangladesh, that it's difficult sometimes to come here in this private university because the fees are super high, but we got it. And now for the next year, we will start with 60. We said 40 for starting, then 60, 70. And to
Monica, I hate to interrupt you, Monica, but we are really running over schedule. If everybody wants to continue talking to Monica, we can do a start the conversation of the academics. All that was such great information, Monica. I do apologize for having to interrupt you. I do want to take 1 minute and ask Joshua and Ramses what takeaways they had from their experience.
Thank you so much, Kelly and Monica and everyone. What I would say really quickly is, one is the impact of trying to redefine education for a new economy is in the teachers. Because if you focus on the teachers, then everything, the perspective changes completely. And the second one is collaboration. I think that the team that Ramses and I did, and representing Tech and Academia B was a big difference in the sense of how we understood what we wanted to design, and then the execution followed that. So I would say collaboration and focusing on the teachers, it's the way to go for this.
Any last thoughts, Ramses?
Thank you. Sure, Kelly. Very quickly as well, just in respect of our time. I'll say that usually in Latin America, we continuously get to expose students to innovations that happen in the global north. And I think it was really important for us to have selected a business case that was a real success from Latin America to the world. And I think that that brought a special magic in the sessions for faculty and students. And lastly, I will just emphasize what Joshua very well said and has been a thought for both of us throughout the whole experience. Maybe this will not be the most popular comment, I do acknowledge that in advance, but I have to say that at least in Latin America, something that is very real and unfortunate is that faculty, they do not get compensated by the time inputting the preparation of the courses. They only get remunerated by the specific amount of time that they impart knowledge. So there is not an incentive to rethink and renew the content. So we as institutions have this huge opportunity, but also huge responsibility to help them bring them resources for them to be at their disposal so they can actually use them in a more efficient and easier way to actually accelerate the adoption of new content for a new economy.
Thank you all, Monica, Joshua, Ramses. That was really great information. As somebody just finishing their MBA, hoping to get into academia, it was really helpful for me personally too. So I will pass this back to Monica and we'll move on with the next presentation.
Thank you, Kelly. Thank you, Ramses, Joshua, and Monica. It was really great to hear these experiences. And again, if anyone wants to continue these conversations, you can email me and we can start a conversation in our Be Academics forum. And so